would happen.
All right. So we're back live again, 7 p.m. Phuket time, the All Star MMA live show, and we got three individuals, two males. I mean, sorry, two females, and one male, right? And you'll get to know them as the show goes. Make sure you guys go in the description and download the All Star app. Did you know we have an app called? Well, did you know we have an app?
I did not.
Yes.
Well, there is an app. You can go download it and make picks on UFC fights, and you could also customize it to where you just get like football. Do you watch any other sports besides fighting?
Rugby.
Rugby. Like if you wanted to do rugby, you could customize it to get all the rugby.
Can you
moves.
win money?
You can win prizes, not money. And if you win money,
Prizes?
it's different. Right?
What kind of prizes?
Bunch of prizes. If you go on the app, download it, and go check it out. And all you got to do is take pics, and everything's free. I've been doing it forever.
If
like,
it's free, it's for me.
exactly.
Mhm.
What a
See?
plug.
Maybe you could win a cameo from Sage Northcutt or something.
That's
Okay.
all I've ever wanted.
And you see, there you go. So Sage, got the shout out. Let's get a cameo.
The
Happy
genuine
birthday.
excitement in her eyes.
Happy birthday, Sage.
Have you seen his pecs?
I just saw a video of Sage today coming out the water.
Yes.
I'm just like, this dude doesn't even look real.
No, he does not look real.
He looks like a AI version of a real person.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here like a noodle boy. It's great.
Are they like those symmetrical packs? You know, the ones that are like properly.
Yeah.
What we were discussing today, I was like, my abs are so like not
It's
symmetrical.
like the American
Sages.
Dolph Lundgren.
He is.
Dolph
He
Lundgren.
is. He is.
Rocky.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Sorry.
Well, he's probably the Ken doll.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what he is.
Right.
He's like the Ken
I'm
doll.
just Sage.
But he's such a like I've interviewed him before, right, a few times, and he's one of the nicest dudes. Like he
Seems
has
like
nothing bad to say about anybody, and I've tried to lure him into saying things, and he just is like he's smart enough to be like diverting. You know what I mean?
He's learned his lesson
Yeah.
probably.
Well, I don't think he's ever said anything bad about anybody. you
He
know what I
probably
mean?
talks
So,
shit about you, John.
well, if
When
he
you're not
does-
around.
Hey, that would be awesome.
There's
That
gotta
would
be
be awesome.
something on the internet.
And that'd be awesome if Sage Northcutt was talking shit about me on the internet somewhere.
Would you feel like
I'll be
slightly
like-
honored?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't feel
I-
honored. I just think it's funny. Like
It's fair.
I see comments all the time. Like I've been doing this thing for like almost 10 years, right? So I get like all these comments on social media or YouTube or you should see some of the comments.
What's something? Okay, is there something you specifically can remember?
No, there's like extremely racist things. Like, and mostly it's racist things. Like to me, the racist stuff it cracks me up. Like,
Yeah,
I love it.
I love a
It's
good
funny to
racist
me.
joke.
But it's like I'll you know what I'll do? I'll screenshot the outrageous comments and I'll always send them to Woody. And then,
He'll
Woody,
love
check
it.
this one out. And, he
He'll
loves
love
that
it.
stuff. But anyways,
Of course.
yeah,
hilarious.
it's harsh out there on the internet. You know what I mean? So you gotta. But me, I'm like I have a personality where I could read all the comments, and it didn't even affect me. Like I'll forget about it like 15 minutes later.
Stone cold.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
just like,
fine.
or I'll just like laugh because it's funny. It's like, yeah, that's a good one. That is good. You know, he does looks like he's Chinese.
Yeah.
He's a Chinaman. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, oh, those are original.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get into some of these topics, right? This is a MMA news reaction show. So the first topic we got here is Khamzat Chimaev, right? So Khamzat Chimaev, I'm pretty sure everybody knows who Khamzat Chimaev is. Everybody's seen Khamzat Chimaev fight.
Mhm.
And some people didn't even know who Khamzat Chimaev was before the UFC, and that's fine. That's fine. You know what I mean? Not many people did, but he had a lot of hype coming in. He was the next coming. He was gonna take over where Habib left off, and right now, it doesn't seem like he's reached. You know, what I mean, there's been more guys, you know, in recent memory that have reached the title and won the title faster than Khamzat. Khamzat hasn't even fought for the title yet, right? He was
How
just-
long's he been signed now?
his first fight with the
It's
UFC
2020.
was 2020 July,
Yeah.
Okay.
and
he
it's
had that.
2024 coming up.
He
right
had
now.
that crazy run where he hit a bunch of quick finishes
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
2020.
Yes.
It was like 66 days, I
It
think.
was
He had
the-
3
yeah.
fights.
He broke the record for the quickest turnaround between
Yeah.
UFC wins, 10 days, and he got a performance of the night on
Yeah.
both fights.
I
Right?
remember all of that.
So why do you think he's not had a title shot yet?
Well, the first thing was he never could decide on like which weight division he was at. Like he was fighting at welterweight, and then he'll go fight at middleweight, and then when he did fight at welterweight, when he was supposed to fight,
he misses weight a lot.
he was supposed to
Huge
fight
weight
Nate
mess.
Diaz. Remember
Oh,
that was
would've
set
been a
up.
good
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
Remember that was
Yeah.
set up for the pay-per-view
And
main event.
Yeah.
They had to do the shuffle.
Yeah,
Big
and
shuffle.
and he missed
Yeah,
weight
all
by
3
like more
fights.
than 10 pounds,
Yeah.
right? And then all that wackiness happened, and then next thing you know, he's fighting 180. He's fighting Kevin Holland, right? Which was, I think he would have done the same thing to Nate Diaz, though. To be
Yeah,
honest with you.
I love Nate,
I'm-
but
That's
Yeah,
glad.
sure.
I'm glad we didn't see that.
you just
Yeah.
no one ever
I'm
wants to
glad
see
we
that
saw
happen
Nate
to
Diaz
Nate.
versus Tony Ferguson instead.
Yeah.
That was much better.
Oh,
Well,
good memory.
You know, Nate. Everybody's hanging on to the Nate Diaz that beat Conor McGregor. That guy is gone. That
But
was like,
attitude-wise,
attitude,
he's
well, you know,
Yeah.
that could
Nate.
only take you so far. You know, what I mean, once you get into the cage, look at when Nick Diaz last fought. Did you see that?
That
Yeah.
was
His
hard to
attitude was
watch.
there. He's just like, oh, Diaz, brother, and next thing you know, he's like he was eating shots. Like,
Yeah.
it just was looking bad.
The thing that's good about him is out of I think a lot of the other aging fighters, he's still kind of kept his kind of icon kind of, you know,
He
like,
was out for
For
so
sure.
long though.
yeah, but,
Was that whole time he was out because he got banned for weed?
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, it was
Wow,
holding
how
battle
hard
and
would that
yeah.
be?
It was just he had to pay a fine, right? He
Yeah.
didn't want to pay the fine.
Oh, damn.
But anyways, let's go back to Khamzat. Now Khamzat, you know, what I mean, he's I think he's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight wins, 7-0 in the UFC. His last win was against Kamaru Usman, who was a welterweight, fighting him at middleweight.
Yeah.
Before that, he fought Kevin
On short
Holland.
notice.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
short notice. Before that, he fought Gilbert Burns in a fight that
That was such a good fight.
such a good
Yeah.
fight. And then he beat
I'd
I'd love a rematch on that.
Jing Liang. He beat him, and then
Yeah.
he beat Mearshard, and then Reese McKee. Now, should he have been a champion already? Do you think?
No.
Well, if he
No.
should have been, he
No, I'm
probably would
saying
have
like
been.
Yeah.
if from the hype that we had from that run, you know what I mean, that run, should he have been champion already? Do you think?
I mean, maybe without all the hiccups that he had to deal
Mhm.
with, right? He had like a long stretch of COVID
Yeah.
at one point, I think in 2021.
He almost
Right?
retired from it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Dana White was like, no, you're not fucking doing that.
Yeah. My money.
Yeah, exactly. No go. And then yeah, the big weight mess. So maybe if those things weren't in the picture, then maybe he would be champion by now. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
You got to
right?
pick a weight
If
class.
it's not
to
your
be
time,
champ.
it's not your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right. That I forgot about all the COVID stuff. And he did retire. He wrote something about like
Yeah.
He wrote a long post
Yeah.
about how he was done and all
Yeah.
this stuff.
That's right.
I think
And
he
then-
had long COVID or something.
Yeah. And then he
Did
he
you
had
study
a-
before we came here, Kendall? I feel like
No,
Where
I
did
just,
you get this?
I
What are
just,
you talking
I'm
about
just a
studying?
fan.
What are you talking about studying?
recently
Why she's been trying to-
when she pulled out that code, I was like, damn, I didn't even
I'm
know
just
that.
a fan. What
No,
can
no,
I
but
I love
say?
that.
she said something that was common knowledge. Like if you watch the sport, you know that happened, right?
I watched
But
this
anyways,
sport. I didn't know that happened.
well, that's your.
That's why I was like, damn, Kendall.
I'm just like at home with
Well,
my books.
yes.
just like,
because he's in the news all the time, right? He's in the news all the time. But yeah, like to me, like the Usman, that was a close fight on short notice. Usman did
Yeah.
really well against Khamzat. I think Khamzat at 185, he might not be that good. He might be good enough to be like a top 10 fighter, but is he good enough to become the champion at 185? We saw him fight Kamaru Usman, who's a welterweight at 185. Before that, he was a kidsweight fight against Kevin Holland, who's not, who's a welterweight. And then Gilbert Burns at welterweight as well.
But I think always like maybe he could beat Leon Edwards. You know what I mean? Like it's.
But that's welterweight.
Oh, well.
He fights at middleweight because he missed weight, and then
Yeah.
the
Right.
doctors told him like you can't cut the welterweight. Yeah,
anymore.
welterweight.
Yeah.
I think he becomes a champion and becomes a legend
Yeah.
if he can go to welterweight and stay there. He beats everybody and just doubles up, just boom, 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 and then he goes up to middleweight. I think that's what they planned on doing with Khamzat
right.
in the beginning. Like when Dana White saw him and said, "Okay, we have a good grasp of this market for this guy. We're gonna build him up, and he's gonna go fight at welterweight, win the title, and then go up to middleweight and do a super fight."
Sounds like he needs to get rid of his nutritionist.
Well, but making weight is part of the job, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
100%.
if you can't make,
Yeah,
you know,
so they're
well,
forcing him to middleweight, and then he was gonna fight. I think it was Paulo Costa.
Yeah.
right? And then Paulo Costa pulls out, Kamaru Usman jumps in. To me, like he's championship level at welterweight, in my mind, without a doubt. But at middleweight, I don't think so. I think he needs to prove himself.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Do we know what he walks around at as well?
He's pretty big.
Yeah.
Like, he's not like Alex Pereira big, but he's pretty big. Like,
Right.
for himself, yeah.
I think it's still a cut for him to get to middle, right? So for him to get to welter is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And he had a long stretch where he didn't fight because he couldn't fight in the US, I think. And they were just
Was there a visa issue too?
Yeah, I think so. And then that's why he fought in Abu Dhabi. But it says here that he fought in the US a few times. So I don't think it's a problem anymore. But it probably was. Sometimes visas is the reason why people have to pull out.
Do you feel like the hype has kind of like died for him now?
Yeah.
I thought the
think so.
hype kind of died for him when because that Burns fight was really
so close,
Yeah,
right? I kind of gave it
to
the other
Burns.
way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like that was when we started to see kind of the hype and like die down.
Yeah, when you
And then
realize
there
someone
was-
can be beaten.
Yeah, and then there was all the other stuff. I remember watching Leach when I was a kid and everything. So him just like picking Leach up and it was like godly, and I was like, Leach, right? So
Leach just got.
Do you think
was
maybe the
bad.
Burns fight got into his head when he's like, that was really close to call?
Possibly, and
yeah, maybe.
the damage he probably took from the Burns fight too.
Had he ever taken any kind of damage like that?
No,
Oh,
'cause he was-
yeah.
he
No,
beat
there was
everybody
some
with-
crazy
Yeah.
record of like
yeah.
he'd barely been struck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know who beat that record? Jalton Almeida beat that record now,
yeah.
and he's at
Mm.
heavyweight. That's pretty insane.
That's
insane.
Like he
That's
hasn't
awesome,
gotten hit at
actually.
heavyweight. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine like
For
getting in
him.
all those fights and just like
Never
no
getting hit,
damage?
Yeah, just right back
Just
to
walking
training,
out
no
like
problem.
ready to go.
You
I
start to
would love
believe your
that.
own hype.
Yeah.
You start to believe, but the thing is, you do have to believe your own hype if you want to be at that level, and if you want to.
Could you see him beating Strickland?
Sean Strickland?
Mhm.
Yeah, I could see him, but I don't think Strickland will be the champion when.
Mm.
Yeah, but we
Khamzat
didn't.
reaches up there.
We didn't see Strickland beating Adesanya.
Yeah, no one saw that coming
You
out.
never
I think
know,
anything's
right?
possible.
Yeah.
Really.
There's always that wild card.
It's like
X factor.
MMA maths. It just doesn't
He doesn't.
make
Yeah.
sense.
I think
Yeah.
at middleweight he doesn't have that strength advantage that he has
Yeah.
at
Well,
welterweight.
The thing is we haven't gotten to see that yet, right?
Yeah.
We've gotten to see him fight Kamaru Usman, but Kamaru Usman is a welterweight.
Yeah.
So until we actually see him fight an actual middleweight, maybe if he does an outstanding performance there, the hype will go back up.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's what he
But
needs.
how do we know?
But
he
again-
needs to fight somebody.
Yeah.
at
But
So
middleweight.
again, when
what's-
he's struggled with two, I mean, obviously, Burns and Usman are fucking the top welterweights and everything. But still, when he's struggling with that weight class, the top guys, you'd think, okay, well, how is he going to do with the top in a bigger, stronger
Right.
class?
Yeah, he just
to wait
so
and see.
basically you're saying that he needs to prove himself.
Yeah.
Is he
I think
booked to
so.
fight?
I don't think so. Well, okay. Oh, that leads to what I wanted to talk about as well. Is now he's online chirping at Adesanya, like he wants to fight Adesanya because
Is that-
Strickland is fighting Duplessis, right?
Yeah.
And so that means the title is wrapped up. Like Khamzat could wait, or Khamzat could fight somebody, and
Yeah.
he's picking Adesanya as his target. What do you think of that fight, Jada?
Is Israel actually going to be out until like 20?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. Depends. Like I feel like sometimes I'm certain on like what an outcome will be, and then I just get proven wrong. But I'd always like to see
Come on,
Israel
unfiltered,
Adesanya come away with the win.
unfiltered.
No,
Come on.
But
I'm trying to do the dancing around the answer. Lisa, you come on, let's go, let it go.
no, I think Izzy could beat him.
Of course,
Just-
Izzy could
yeah.
beat him.
Just
right?
depends like
just
on
said
who
the
implements
size.
I
their
think-
game plan better.
Yeah.
I think the
Mhm.
Izzy that shows up would beat him.
Yeah. You do that fence, take down defense along the fence, right?
Mhm, mhm.
That's what he needs to do.
Yeah.
And then force Khamzat into striking.
Yeah, and just
with
keeping
him.
his distance, like
Yeah.
using that.
But he's
Long
so
ass
good at
reach.
that, right? He's so good at that. But the thing is, like, Khamzat, if he gets a hold of you, though, you don't know.
Yeah,
You don't know if you're not ready for those
Deep
positions.
waters.
You guys know better than me, but I'm just saying, like, what do you think of like Khamzat going at Adesanya rather than going at the winner of the title?
Yeah, I would say because I mean Izzy has just said that he wanted to take a break. Why are guys going after him at all?
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Like,
maybe they
yeah.
feel
guy-
like that's how
Point.
they can prove that they're ready for the next title shot.
Yeah, and I get that, but like the guy was doing title fights, whether he was, like defending or going for it and
Yeah.
everything, like for how many of the last fights that he's done?
Insane, like a record.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's some record of it. It was always a title fight. Like,
Mm.
let the man rest.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe
go
like-
after some.
Maybe they feel like he's in a bit of a vulnerable place at the moment. I mean,
Yeah.
when that happens to you,
Well,
it does
that's-
something.
that-
So
you need
now
to
they're
do
like,
that.
oh, he'll be beatable now because he's not going to be like in that confident mindset that he's always been
He's
in,
not
like
in
throughout
the
all these years.
mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So maybe that, just trying to kick a man while he's down.
I mean,
Maybe.
You
that's
need
the
to do that.
sport.
Yeah.
That's the
You
sport.
need to like in fighting, right? When you get up to that level of, and it's all like strategy, right? Like, cause why? You can lose one fight, but the next fight gets you back right into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's why it becomes like a carousel in the
Yeah.
top 15, because there's so many guys that are good that will lose one or two and then they beat somebody and they're back up there in the carousel.
Also, I think
right?
sometimes you just have to talk shit to stay relevant.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
also true because
100%.
MMA
Social media
media
is super important.
MMA
I hate
media is
that.
all
Conor
about
McGregor's prime for that.
yeah, MMA media is all about just like social media posts or
Yeah.
Twitter or what is it, their YouTube channel or what did they say on there? That's all MMA media. is
Yeah, and
doing,
if
right?
enough people get behind it, maybe it puts pressure on the other person. Like they
Yeah.
have to
or
kind
on,
of, yeah.
or on the UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's what Khamzat wants. He wants some hype build around Adesanya because he knows Adesanya stylistically out of all the matchups right there, like between like the three, Duplessis and Strickland and Adesanya. I think he believes that Adesanya is probably the best for him.
Yeah.
He
Right.
probably feels that.
And,
it's
and he's
the
talking
least
about
crap.
he's going to be away for a while and stepping away. And he just saw him perform against Strickland the way he did. He's just like, oh, maybe he's not in it anymore. Maybe the love is lost. And then you go after that guy and
Yeah.
beat him because he's
Right.
what everybody's considered him the best middleweight of all time, even past Anderson Silva, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
And like you don't know about MMA in that era, like Anderson Silva did things nobody will ever do again.
Yeah.
Like people don't understand. But anyways, and I love Adesanya and all that, right? But I'm just saying, you know what I mean? He was in the Matrix. Anderson Silva. Go back and watch him if you're too young. Like there's kids like Shay,
No, I
14-year-old kids that are doing MMA, but they had no idea. I don't know if Shay knows who Anderson Silva
I
is.
remember
my goodness.
Anderson Silva knocking out Forrest Griffin with a jab going backwards.
That's what I'm saying. Like
That's
Matrix stuff.
crazy,
Going
man.
Like
up
how
a
do you
weight
do
class.
that? And it was just like a paw. Like
It was a paw. Yeah. It made me so
like it
sad.
was just swatting flies away. But yeah, so
Love you,
anyways,
Forrest.
so Adesanya, he gets the credit for being one of the greatest of all time at middleweight, one of the greatest strikers of all time as well. Like you got to give him that credit.
Yeah.
But I think Khamzat's looking at him as like maybe there's like a lot of vulnerabilities there. You know,
Mhm.
not just in the fighting, but maybe in the mental and the preparation and all that, right? And that's what Khamzat's doing. At that level, you have to think like that,
Yeah, of course.
right? What if you're
It's
not? What if
strategic.
you're like one of those fighters that just say, "I'll just fight whoever the UFC wants me to fight"?
It's
And,
boring. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that no fans care. At this
Mhm.
point, no fans care if you're like, I'll take anyone that they give
Yeah.
me because
Just put
they
that on
want
mute.
at
Yeah,
least
yeah.
some aspect of WWE-esque.
I know,
Yeah, they
that's
want some
out.
drama,
They want
right?
this, they
Of
want that.
course. Yeah.
That's why the in-ring questionnaire or whatever that person is. That's why they ask you that question.
Yeah,
It's for you to take the mic,
Right.
and the best ones don't even answer the questions. They just say what they have prepared, like ready, like what they know what they want to say.
Yeah.
That's
They're like,
those
I
are
don't
the
give a
best.
shit about your
Because like, fuck
question.
your question.
This
I'm
is
just
my
going
Yeah,
off.
give me my
You know, on
speech.
whatever what I want to do. You know what I mean? That's the best ones. Like, you know who was good at that? Chael Sonnen was
Mm.
great
I
at
mean, he's the classic example,
that.
right?
Oh
Yeah,
man,
Chael
he's,
Sonnen was
he's
a
one of the
master at
best.
that.
He's one of the best, right? Just ignore everything that they say. It's like, I love you, Joe Rogan, but they just start
Yeah,
going
just
off.
snatches the mic, like does this thing. Yeah.
So, you know, like to me, that like I know some people are like, oh, that's not in my nature, or that's not who I am. But that doesn't mean that you have to talk shit.
Yeah, you don't have to
But-
be disrespectful
No,
to
you
call
don't.
someone out.
You don't, because there's a lot of guys that are very respectful calling guys out.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing is, like, to me, in trash talking, people are trash talking and like trying to downgrade their opponent, right?
Yeah.
Then if you're downgrading your opponent, saying that they suck at this or they're trash or whatnot, right? And you couldn't even beat, my grandma or whatever. If you beat them up, what does that say about you then?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
That you could beat your own grandmother.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow, what an
okay.
achievement.
No, but the worst is when you do that and then you lose.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And then you just
No.
set yourself up for.
Awful.
No, that's the risk you take, because
Yeah.
even if you said it or if you didn't say it, no one's gonna really care afterwards, right? You lost the fight, okay, for a couple of weeks, maybe people will probably say some things, but after that, it's lost in the internet, and next thing you know, they're just focused on your.
I want to do
Next
the
fight.
reverse trash talk and hype up my opponents.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So that when I beat them, I'm like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
You know
thought
who's
you were
the
good.
greatest individual on planet Earth?
Yeah.
You know?
And I would
Use them
respectfully
so
like to
much.
beat his
Yeah,
ass.
Exactly.
You're like, Donald Trump, I want to whip your ass.
Respectfully.
Right?
Respectfully.
Because you know what though, even if you do it that way, it's kind of funny, and also it makes a soundbite. And
Yeah,
that's what they want.
It also shows
Yeah.
that you don't take it like too serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're not like
yeah.
I think
you're not
people
an
would
easy
appreciate
target
that.
too, because you can have a laugh. So it makes it harder for people to
Even-
even come at you.
Even like there's
Absolutely.
like comedians, right? That they
Yeah.
kind of laugh at themselves while they're
Yeah.
telling jokes. It actually helps the audience kind of get more comfortable with
Well,
laughter.
It was something that I always thought was interesting was I would hear like fighters talk about how they're like, yeah, I'm gonna like retire this guy, or like I'm gonna make them have a like go downward spiral, have a terrible, and I'm like, yo, man, any person I beat, I want them to have the best fucking record ever after me, because it just makes me look better.
Yeah.
And if they beat me, same. I want them to have an amazing career no matter what. Just don't beat me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, true. Yeah, well,
It's a
you
good
know,
way
to me,
look at
is to like in my eyes, there's no limit in trash talk.
Yeah.
To me, in my mind,
Like as in there's no like line.
Yeah.
There's no
you can
line,
just
yeah.
so even with the
Mm.
whole
Oh.
mentioning his
Yeah.
dead dad. and,
yeah, I think there's no line. It's
Damn,
like-
you savage,
I
Grandma.
think- I think in trash talk, that's what it should be, especially with fighting. The reason why is because you're fighting. Like you literally gonna go in there and do. If they trash talk you enough, you're gonna put a beating on them.
Yeah, but if you go
for
that
them
far,
and
at least if you've lost, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about like Covington.
no, but
Yeah,
the
but
thing
it's gotta
about-
stay relevant.
But
Yeah.
the thing about Covington
Yeah,
is
but
like
he's not.
he's created his own world, right? So it's like no matter what people are saying, he's just gonna say what he says.
Well, shit talking literally saved his career. Like he was about to be
Nah,
out of the
That's
UFC.
that's all lie.
What?
Did you know
You're
that,
right.
right?
What do you mean it's
That's
not
been
lie?
all
Nice.
debunked.
Debunked how?
They've been debunked because it says it on the interview. Like he did an interview where he's not his character on some like news channel, and he was talking about how like what is it like? Oh, he had to do this because UFC, and then they go back and they show a video of him talking shit like 2 fights before that, talking about like how he's gonna do this and that to the welterweight. You know, like he was doing it already. It just wasn't on the stage. But Brazil was the perfect spot to make
Yeah,
it
and the way he
explode.
called. Okay.
And he's like, "You dirty filthy animal," you know, like
Right.
it wasn't even nothing like too crazy, right? But
No, but then he was
But
suddenly like the
Brazilian
most
fans.
searched name like after that
Yeah.
happened, right?
No.
to me, I don't think I think Colby is like cringe, but he's also clever with what he does, and he knows 100% what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
You know, 100% knows what he's saying, and and it's almost like sometimes you see him smirk because he's just like, "Damn, I got away with saying that."
Yeah.
Like he's like pushing it. You know, what
Yeah,
I enjoy
absolutely.
watching that. You know, that's why I say there's no limit in trash talk, because why? You guys are gonna fight each other, so like say what you say. You know what I mean, and handle your business. If you lose, you lose. If you don't, if you win, you win. That's even better, right? But it's to me, it's like every fight. It's like comedy. Like, should there be a limit to comedy?
No.
No, but
That's
I
exactly.
I think
Yeah, no. I've laughed at some really bad stuff.
yeah,
And
for
you've laughed
sure.
at some terrible things, right?
Yeah.
About some terrible topics. To me, trash talk's the same thing.
Oh, I'm going to hell.
Oh no. See you there.
I don't know. There's some trash talk that's just like it's not funny. It doesn't really work, and it's like super offensive. You know, when it gets into like personal and your family and stuff like that, it's like
Yeah, then
you
it's
could have
actually
said
not
something.
funny.
You
but
could
you're
have
like,
said
"Whoa."
something else, right? You could have been trash talking me in other ways instead of like talking about my mom or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think like it's
Well,
No,
unnecessary.
it depends what they say though. Like
It
sometimes
does.
it can be really funny, but like if yes, we'll see you in hell, like with your dad. Like that's not
No,
funny. You're like, no one's laughing at that.
Yeah, but it's just to get a reaction out of him.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, because
He got it.
yeah,
Mhm.
He lost.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Well, I think
one of
they
the
hope
worst-
it kind of ruins.
that to me
Them
that's
mental
even
state.
worse.
Yeah, of
Like the worst thing about that situation was like the trash talk and all that stuff. I'm cool with that. I'm fine with that. Some of it I enjoy it. But to do all of that and then go out there and fight like he did, that is the worst.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
mean.
That
You
is
get
the worst.
embarrassed,
Yeah,
right?
you
Like
get
that is the worst.
shit.
And then now he's just like forgetting it all even happened, which is the best to me. Like
Yeah.
this guy is
Just
like
making a whole bunch of
manipulation, right?
excuses.
He's doing
Yeah.
interviews
He's
now.
gaslighting the fans. He's like, that didn't even happen.
Yeah,
What are you
that's
talking
what
about?
I'm saying.
I won that fight.
And it's like to me, it's like it's perfect way to handle it. It's just like you're going into a false reality, and then people are just like, oh, that's just what he does.
Maybe that's how he has to survive though. Like imagine
Yeah.
if you ponder on that and you're like, oh my God, I really just got my ass beat in front of everyone after that smack talk. You start to like get depressed. So he probably, fake it till you make it in
That's
his
what I'm
mind.
saying.
Yeah.
Because why? Like that's what's gonna keep him alive. There's no villain really. If you think
Yeah.
about it, we need villains. Like every division needs a few villains that's gonna talk shit. That's gonna be in people's faces. You need them because you need the good guy and the bad guy. You can have two good guys fighting each other. It's gonna be like, oh, respect, man. They're gonna hug each other during the rounds and shit. Like, oh, nice
Yeah.
punch. Oh, yeah. To
And
me,
it-
that I hate that. I hate like fighters like they'll be fighting, but then in the middle of it, they'll be like,
Well, not in the middle.
They're not hugging.
No, but they're doing
yeah, I know. But I just mean
you
like
see it
not
in
in
the
the
UFC
middle.
too.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing?
I mean, I like to see that. I like to see the villains against the good guys, and I also like to see the good guys together because I like that respect.
Yeah.
Because I feel that in the gym as well as respect for your
Mhm.
teammates. So respect for your opponents as well. It's like we're just here to fight. You
Yeah.
know, it's like
That's how I feel. Like if you didn't like doing this, I wouldn't have anyone to do this with, and
Yeah.
then just be by myself.
exactly,
Like
exactly.
I don't know. I guess I look at it from a martial artist perspective as well. And so the respect is important and all of that. I wouldn't say I'm going to be like hugging my opponent in the middle of a round, but if like I accidentally kicked him in the nuts super hard, I'm gonna be like, yo, I'm so sorry, versus be like, yeah, like, I don't know. I mean, if
That's just who you are, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
who you are.
I like
yeah,
to see
it's
the
great.
respect
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, just I like to see the respect too. I like all angles of the sport. You know what I mean? Like every single thing. I like the extremes. I like the super respectful martial artist guy to the worst of the worst. I like them both.
well, that's
Yeah.
what makes it
I
so entertaining.
I appreciate
Mhm.
both.
GSP versus Koscheck.
Yeah, like GSP versus contract. I appreciated that so much, right? But GSP was just too good, just so much better than everybody back then. Right?
Yeah.
It was just like
He just jabbed
knew-
Koscheck to.
you knew once he beat Thiago Alves, like I was like, okay, this dude's gonna beat everybody because Thiago Alves was a murderer back then. But anyways, back to regular program. Colby, we don't want to talk about him anymore, right? But anyways,
Okay.
I to me, like everybody's been talking all week about like after this, Colby like talking about dude's dad, and it's like, oh, there should be a line and blah blah. But then it's like, yo, there's so many guys that have talked trash in the past that have gone as far as Colby has, and no one's bringing those up. You know what I mean? Like, like what was like Connor has done it many times, right? So it's just
Yeah.
like,
Not to mention, but he's done stuff like outside of the fight. You know what I mean? Like punching an old dude in the
I was
bar,
thinking
and
about that
just
too.
doing all the like
Connor's
worst
off the
shit.
hook.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Connor's living like
Cocaine is
a
a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
Connor is living like a millionaire would live,
I mean,
not giving a fuck.
isn't he a
And to the
billionaire?
limit of like
Yeah.
to the limit of he's punching people in the bar.
I know. And
And it-
they're old, like
Yeah.
old people.
Like
And
he's at that don't give a
he's
fuck.
not
he
even
really
getting
will beat your
arrested
grandma.
for it.
Like,
Like,
It's like
for
when I
real.
become a millionaire, I'm gonna go into a bar and I'm gonna punch an old dude. It's gonna feel good.
like it's on his like
on his bucket list.
he like at
His
home.
5-year plan.
Yeah,
he's like, I made it.
He has his whole
I punched
list.
an old
He's
dude in the bar and no one did shit. I
That's
made
how
it.
you know you've made it.
It reminds me of like I was watching Dumb and Dumber the other day, and remember when they found the suitcase that had money inside of it? And then they were like, go around spending the money. It reminds me of that. It was like, just slap somebody, just give them the cash. You know what I mean? Like,
Make
that was
money,
so good.
punch
so
the
good.
elderly.
Yeah, like, but anyways, like, yeah, he's up to that level. You know what I mean? Like I told people, like, it's just funny. He could fart in a jar, and then people are
Listen,
gonna write about it.
I was gonna say, as long as you're making Dana White money, you can
Mhm.
literally
Yeah.
do whatever you want, and he won't get rid of you.
Nah. They just got rid of USADA, or they're gonna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. See,
Right.
that's how
In about
powerful
3
Conor
days.
McGregor is.
Yeah.
So it's just
They're like, we're gonna drug test USADA now.
yeah, it's just insane. Anyways, moving on to the next topic, Sean Strickland, right? So we go from like Colby Covington's trash talk to Sean Strickland, who has his own style of trash talk as well.
Mhm.
Did you know that he was in a serious like motorcycle accident
Mhm.
I
Yeah, he
didn't
was
see
out
that.
for a while.
Recently,
No,
Yeah,
it was
no.
like
before he became a middleweight? He used to fight at welterweight.
yeah, it
Oh,
was
okay.
like 4 or 5 years ago or something
Yeah,
like that.
but he was like in a serious motorcycle accident when nobody cared about him, right? So he got in an accident, really nobody cared, right? Until afterwards. But like that's when he like changed. Because if you look at him before that, he was like he had longer hair, he was a little bit more clean cut looking, right? And he didn't really say much.
So are you saying the motorcycle accident maybe
That's what people are saying,
switched
yeah.
something
They're
new?
saying he had brain damage.
Exactly.
I just
right?
thought he was autistic. I'm not even.
So, but like, you know, like, cause he would go off on these like tangents, right? These rants and stuff about like women or whatnot, right? And but now like he's kind of getting weird because he's like talking, like he's flipping the script. Now he's like talking about like the PTSD and you know, like it's like, do you think like something's going on? Have you been keeping up with Sean Strickland?
No, I know he's always he reminds me a bit of my dad. Hey, like I know he's always saying something like strange, but that's what I mean. I just always got that vibe of like, you know, the autistic kid who just can't read the room and just says whatever he's thinking, and then people are like, dude, what? Like that's the vibe I get
Hey,
from
I
him.
still give him credit for moving Burns' kid before
Yeah.
he jumped at
Excuse
Duplessis.
me, can you
Yeah.
move while I
He's
kick
like-
this guy's ass? Like,
It's like, oh.
That was kind of a weird situation.
That was
he's
weird,
a gentleman.
yeah.
What do you mean?
Like,
He's
that's
a
what I'm saying.
gentleman.
They said that Sean Strickland even doing that was kind of out of character.
Yeah.
Like he's not a type of guy that's gonna like.
I don't think he's a
attack somebody.
dick. Yeah. Oh well.
Because
I mean, old mate was stirring him up, right?
It was not. He was attacked. He was just
Didn't
saying,
the guy say like, "Let's fight right here, right now" or something?
Yeah,
and
but
then
that's
Sean
what
Strickland's
they
like,
always
"Excuse
say,
me, man."
Right?
Right.
Everybody say, "Oh, you want to fight right now?"
Wasn't there also an altercation where he had to go outside of his house and he had
Oh,
someone
Oh
come
yeah,
in?
yeah,
Yeah,
they had to
There's-
bring the gun out. Or someone was trying
Did
to
you
break
see
into
that?
his
No,
house.
he
or
had his
something.
gun pointed at the
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
in
yeah,
front of
Wasn't
his
he in
house.
his
saw the
underwear or
video.
something? The dude does not
And I
give a
think
fuck.
the dude crashed his car and ran away from the scene.
Yeah,
And he was
he was
hiding
hiding
between
behind.
Sean Strickland's cars
Oh,
at his
really?
house.
Like out of all the
Wrong
houses.
house. Wrong house.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Bad luck.
man.
And then Sean Strickland runs out and he's like pointing his gun at the dude, holding him up, make sure that bring the police or whatnot. But yeah, but that to me, that's just like, I think people like that shouldn't have guns, number one. But I don't live in the US.
He didn't shoot him though, right? So
No.
there was
No,
like,
no,
there's
it's
that
just-
level of self-control there. He's obviously a bit aware.
That would have been
Yeah.
crazy if he did shoot him, and it was just all on his like, on
But
his like house video, like
we know
CCTV.
we know that he like I don't know if you listened to the Joe Rogan podcast with him, but he was like going on some crazy shit.
Oh, really? I
He
didn't-
was like, "Oh, I'd love to just like kill somebody."
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
That's, see what I'm saying? Just like no filter with his thoughts.
He's just like, I just want to know what it feels like, you know.
like shit like
He's
that.
obviously had a very troubled.
Can you imagine what
past.
kind of intrusive thoughts he gets? Like,
No, but then, to me, it's like almost
feel
like,
like he
is
just
he
lets them win all
like
the
that?
time.
Is he that like disturbed or whatever you want to call it, right? Or is he like at the level of like Colby Covington now, where he's just like, let me just say whatever the fuck.
well, maybe now he's champion. He's like, fuck it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's champion too, which is crazy, right? No one thought that would ever happen.
Well, he was doing
Right.
that before he was champ. I thought, I guess to an extent, but
Yeah, he was doing it, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like now he's like pushing it even more. Like even this brawl thing, like the dude wasn't like getting attacked. Like he jumped back to like
But it
And he
builds
was,
more
like,
hype
hitting
for the
them like
fight,
this.
right?
he was hitting them like
Yeah.
with these like little bitty baby.
Yeah,
Khamzat.
it kind
Wait,
of
wait,
did
wait.
seem a
the
little
real
fake.
the real question is the UFC and the WWE just merged? is their
Mm.
shit.
Well,
going.
that's another allegation that they have. It's
Oh,
like
yeah?
the UFC is now starting to like, you know,
Yeah.
doctor things. Like they're just they're like what's it called?
I feel like that's gonna ruin
like,
it though.
Set it up.
Yeah,
so,
there was
like make a
setup.
script.
Yeah,
Yeah.
scripted. Yeah, scripted.
Right.
They said that like that was scripted, and I was just
Yeah.
like, UFC should not. If they're trying to do that, they should not.
Strickland
Mm.
is gonna hit the people's elbow in his next
Yeah.
fight.
Walls of Jericho.
The walls of Jericho. Yeah.
But what do you think of like what he said, like him as a person, like Sean Strickland? What do you think of him?
I
It-
mean,
He
Oh,
gives me
you go.
real redneck vibes.
Yeah.
Just like
No, but he's from Cali though.
yeah, I know, but
it seems like he's like being himself to me. I just think he's like a super troubled
I
person.
met him a few times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you were. At
I was in
fucking-
Vegas. He
yeah.
lived in the same building complex as me.
Oh, we got the juice, though. We got the juice.
No, but
Let the juice go.
No, but in fairness, he was always very quiet. I think he might have recognized me after a while because he would, or
Right. He
he
whatever.
seems like
at the-
he'd like to be a bit of a loner. Like,
yeah, but he
more of a
was like,
homebody.
whenever I saw him at the PI, he was super nice to everybody. Like, walked up, hey,
Yeah.
Gian, hey, this, like, he never seemed like, I know he's polarizing and everything. And obviously, I mean, I was at Syndicate and he had some issues with Syndicate before he moved to XC. So, but I wasn't there for those issues. So I wasn't firsthand to any of that. But yeah, I mean, at least from I never had an opinion. I was just like, well,
He's fine.
yeah. Hi.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the grocery store, passing him like, hi. So
Well, let's see what he said. Let me see.
seemed calm.
Yeah.
Let's see what he didn't say. He just says
Well, it
says
said something-
everything.
Well, Colby Covington attacked him for saying something about women.
Oh.
What?
No, I think. Oh yeah, him and Valentina had like a back and forth.
I think it was about the ring girls, wasn't
yeah,
it?
was
Yeah.
about the ring girl.
Why
or
did I
something
think
like
that was Khabib and
No, yeah, that
Valentina?
was Khabib,
No,
wasn't
it
it?
was Strickland.
Yeah, it was
It
Khabib.
was Strickland and Valentina
I thought
war.
Oh.
Let's read these MMA hotlines.
'cause
There
I
must
thought-
have also been something with Khabib.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
'cause
remember
Khabib-
that
No, I
too.
swear, and
Yeah.
Valentina's like,
Yeah.
no, they're part of the show. Like,
the Mandela
No, it says
effect.
Strickland
Yeah,
versus
really?
Valentina
Oh, shit.
Shevchenko war. Women's MMA fights are boring.
Oh, no, see, yeah.
Okay, so
Van
this,
Zandt was hired for being sexy.
is he wrong?
I mean,
let's be real here.
That's the thing. Yeah. Look, I was just thinking about that before when we're talking about the trash talking because, like, I love like I always, if I miss the fights live, I always skip to watch the girl fights first. But that's because I'm a woman. But
Oh
I
my
know that there's a
God,
lot of people.
sexism.
I know that there's a lot of people who don't love women's MMA, and obviously, a majority of MMA fans aren't actually fighters; they're just fans. So sometimes I go, "Is
Right.
it because the women do lack that trash talk that people aren't as into it?"
potentially.
as the guy fights.
I don't know.
Like,
'cause-
okay, so
I
Joanna
watch them
Young J
all.
check trash talk before, kind of, but she'd say, "I'm the boogie woman," and that was about it.
Which I thought that was entertaining because you're like, oh,
Yeah.
It's
the
just
booger.
funny when they don't
But-
speak English properly.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
her and Claudia
I mean,
Gadelha.
Okay, so going back to Sean Strickland and
Sorry.
Valentina, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about like why they were beefing. Right?
Okay.
Okay, so Sean Strickland on Twitter, he writes, Paige Van Zandt says she made more on OnlyFans in 24 hours than she did in the UFC
Good for her.
altogether. And he says, let's unpack. Number one, you were signed because you're hot. Number two, women's MMA is lame. Number three, men will pay more to see you naked than to watch you fight. Stay in school, kids. Fighting sucks. LOL. And then Valentina responded and said, interesting unpack here.
She definitely Google
That
translated
looks-
that.
No, she speaks good English.
Okay, sorry.
She speaks like 5 languages. Crazy. Like,
Damn.
yeah, she's an agent.
that
That looks more like an offended kid who got less money in his entire fighter career than female fighters do. Good try. Maybe UFC will see that and add some cash to your purse next time. But for now, naked as you are.
Oh, wait,
See,
what?
Like, naked as you are.
the Google Translate didn't
But-
work.
Yeah,
Yeah, what was that?
It is you.
I don't know.
That's
And now
strange.
he's like,
Okay.
"Who's got the belt and
Okay.
the
Yeah.
money?"
Then Sean responds, Valentina, you lost the girl who pulls guard
My pull card.
He's referring to Grasso.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you look like you learned striking from a YouTube video.
That's not.
Laugh my
Sorry,
ass off.
that was inaccurate.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, hey.
Almost
Yeah.
funny, but very inaccurate.
It's like watching children fight. It's fun, but we all know it's trash. You only have a job because you know when you put on heels on and take your clothes off.
But she's also not like that. Like she's not very promiscuous on her social media or anything.
No.
No.
She gets
She's-
real dressed up though.
She's all fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a dresser upper,
Mhm.
right? Anyways,
Also,
so like Strickland, you know what I mean? Like he said some things in the past about women, they should be in the kitchen and all that stuff. What do you think about him? And he has a girlfriend too. It's not like he's
I think he just got married. Actually, I
Roman.
think he just got engaged.
okay. He got engaged,
Yeah.
married.
just
Congrats.
to the point of what he was saying, women's MMA is probably the most interesting in the last 3-4 years than it's ever been as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Like there've been multiple fight of the nights, or wasn't Joanna and Wei Li fight of the year?
Yep.
Yeah, that
You
was
know?
such
Yeah,
a good
that was
fight.
an
I'd watch them
incredible
fight
fight.
100 times.
Yeah.
I don't think they could survive.
No,
but yeah, I mean, like it is a little bit of a renaissance. It depends on the weight class, of
Yeah.
course, but it is a little bit of a
Well, there was
renaissance.
even just I don't know if it was the weekend that just went or the one before. There was the girl who she just fought Amanda Nunes and lost, but she did not perform.
Irene
her,
Aldana.
right? And she was
Yeah.
just in that fight, and they put
Yeah.
on an amazing
Yeah, that
fight.
was
They were so
incredible
there was
as
just
well.
blood everywhere. Like they just went for it.
I
I-
think. Oh, you go.
No, you go.
Okay, I was just gonna say. I think female MMA is young, right? There aren't as many female fighters as there are male fighters. You know, it's been around for a lot longer, but I think, you know, as time progresses, it's just getting better and better. The women are getting better, and
And-
there's boring fights.
Yeah, I was
on the
gonna say
men's
it's not
side,
like
there's-
guys don't do
yeah.
shit sometimes as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
probably more boring fights on the guy's side, to be honest, because
Well,
Francis
you
Ngannou
know,
and Derek
numbers.
Lewis.
yeah, exactly. Number
The
The
oh,
worst
God.
fight ever.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Derek
So-
Lewis won that.
By like a single
Yeah.
leg kick.
Awful.
Yeah.
A little
So-
single leg kick and a hump to the mat. That's
Yeah.
what he did, and he won the fight. It was
Having
stupendous.
yeah.
Yeah.
Stupendous. It was. Yeah. It's what is it? What were we talking about?
Women's
Women's
Sean
MMA.
Strickland talking shit about
Yeah.
women's
you guys were
MMA.
talking about stuff, and I was just like about to fall asleep.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
kidding, I'm just
Okay.
kidding. No, but women's MMA.
I'm leaving.
In that case.
My
women's
feelings are hurt.
MMA. Women's MMA. It's awesome, man. Like, how could you not like women's MMA? But like, but there are some signings. Like, if we're talking just about the UFC, there are some signings that they make. It's just like they're not ready. And then now it's like the men are as well now too. Like it's like because of the Contender Series, they're trying to. The UFC is doing something that's so apparent that I don't know if every fighter should like even sign with the UFC, to be honest with you, unless they know how to like monetize their way through the UFC, or they just know that they're going to be UFC champion or a top 15 fighter for 10 years, right? Either way. Anyways, what was I saying? What was the topic?
I don't know. I
don't know.
started falling asleep.
Yeah,
you were
me too.
talking, and then I
was like,
started
oh,
falling
what was
asleep.
that?
boring.
I gotta be honest, I
Oh, the
ADD
U-
started
the
acting
UFC, the model of the UFC, right? Now they're starting to push out all the big contracts, right? And signing the Contender
Yeah.
Series fighters,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And Contender Series fighters they get signed for the bare minimum.
Also, how many people over that season get signed?
Almost like pretty much everybody, it seems like.
But how
Really?
many
Yeah, it
numbers would you say?
drastically
Like
changed,
100?
right?
Yeah,
less?
recently it just went up
It
crazy.
was
like,
super hard.
But I'm like, how do they
Yeah.
have all the? How do they have
because
like,
now
room for
they
all these people?
understand that they could sell the same product and get rid of the old names and the big contracts.
Mm.
Yeah.
And get for like one main fighter that you're paying like 100K, 200K, you could get 5 other guys that are fighting their
Yeah, but don't they
hearts
think
out.
in the long run that's gonna lose?
no, because
them?
they already got all the TV deals. They
And
they just
O'Malley,
and
Right.
the superstars are gonna
Okay.
come through those.
Yeah.
O'Malley.
Yeah, O'Malley. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamal Hill, he was
Yeah,
Contender Series.
Hill as
O'Malley, they're all champions already.
Yeah.
So it's working.
But now they're making the big bucks.
Yeah, of course
Right.
they're making. But I'm just saying, like a lot of fighters,
Oh.
they get sold that dream, right? But like you might like I interview UFC fighters constantly, like a lot, right? And you see UFC fighters come into the UFC and fight twice and get cut and never see them again.
Right.
It's just like
And I think
Was it too early for you to like go into the UFC?
I think a lot of fighters as well, they are probably making good money and maybe in a different brand or something, and then they're willing to take that kind of pay cut to go down in pay because they want the prestige of saying that they fought in the UFC. And I think what ends up happening is it allows the UFC to pay the bare minimum to a lot of
Right.
fighters, and then it's also bloats the UFC so that the fighters themselves are in a more precarious position, so that you're walking on a tightrope. And even if you're, let's say, have 2 boring wins, there's a possibility you can get cut.
Yeah.
And you're like, yo, I won. And they're like, you laid and prayed. And you're like, but I won.
Yeah.
You know?
There's fighters that have fought once and been cut from the UFC.
Yeah.
Like it's very rare, but there have been fighters.
But
that
when
have
you-
done.
But aren't they under like a 4-fight contract or?
It doesn't
something?
matter. Like I talk to fighters about this all the time too. It's like, yo, you just signed a new 4-fight contract. Now for UFC, you know what they're doing? They're locking down certain level of fighters, 6-fight contracts now. Like they're locking them down.
I
Like,
read
it's
something
crazy.
about this.
Yeah, so like I've been talking to fighters about it. Like they just signed a 7-fight contract with the UFC. 7 fights could be 3 years.
This is why we need people like Francis, right? Fighting for fighters' rights.
Mhm.
Who's Francis?
Ngannou.
Francis,
Oh, Francis. Oh,
what the
okay. I
hell?
was like, who's Francis?
Our friend
He
Francis.
forgot after he left the UFC.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is, like, if you're a fighter, you should pay. I think you should pay close attention to that, like, lawsuit that's going on right now.
Yeah.
That could affect you in the future. That lawsuit that's going on right now with the UFC and Kung Lee and a few other fighters. But there's a bunch of them.
So are they cutting the fighters, or are they just not getting them fights? Because
they're
I've
cutting
heard
them.
of that,
cutting
because
them.
there's like the contract
Mhm.
is like 4 fights, but say they won't put them on any other fights, and then they're just stuck in that contract
heard that
kind of
with
thing, but they
one.
can't go anywhere
Well,
else.
that's every promotion, but from what I've heard about the UFC is like the UFC, they cycle through everybody, right? Unless you're like in the special box, right?
Right.
And you're like one of those fighters, right? But other than that, you're getting cycled through the division. So like if you go through one cycle and like they say, hey, we got a fight for you in 3 months. It's against la la la. Do you want the fight? You say no, then you go back on the carousel.
Mm.
And then you gotta wait. And you go the second time. If you say no, you could get shelved for 2 years.
What's
Right.
crazy
UFC
as
has
well.
done that. That's happened.
What's crazy as well is there are guys that they're good fighters and they're constantly winning just enough fights that the UFC, and impressively enough that the UFC will keep them, but they never like hype them.
Mhm.
Mm.
And then suddenly, they just kind of slip through the cracks. And then next thing I know, they're like, yeah, this guy's been in the UFC for 15 fights.
Yeah, and you're like,
yeah.
what?
Because this guy,
Yeah.
Because they're never asking for more money.
Yeah.
They're just like, they take every fight. Like
Yeah.
they don't complain. Those are the fighters that they want.
Yeah.
Like you get signed from the Contender Series, you just fight whoever they tell you to fight. You never complain, and you just continue going that way. And if you don't fit the storyline of what we want, then they just cut you. Because every fight they could cut you. You can sign a 4-fight deal. After the first fight of your 4-fight deal, they could cut you.
Yeah.
And there's no compensation.
There's
for
no
you
compensation.
financially.
No.
They
This just like
they hold the
yeah.
right to terminate contract whenever they
Yeah.
feel.
So
What
the
the-
4-fight deal
It's
doesn't really
crazy.
mean anything. It means
Yeah.
that you're on 4 1-fight deals.
Yeah.
That's what fighters look at. it
It's
as.
like it's more the possibility of having
Right.
4
Yeah.
fights.
But
Right.
if you're making like, let's say you're making like $200,000 a fight, then that's a different story. If you want the 7-fight deal,
Yeah.
because you never know behind the scenes they're possibly giving out signing bonuses to fighters that fighters don't talk about. There's a lot of like money behind the scenes
Mhm.
Yeah.
that fighters don't talk about, right?
Well, and some fighters do talk about how good, at least when you get injured in the fight, how good they're taken care of
Yeah,
and everything.
for
how
sure.
how well the healthcare is.
Right.
At least when you get injured in the fight.
Yeah,
Outside the
yeah.
fight's a different story, from what I understand.
Yeah, it all depends on who you are too. You know what I mean? It's a company like any other, company. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
a
like
business,
people get
absolutely.
favored, compared to other people, right? It's just
I think
Mhm.
bring back the sponsorship banners in the
Yeah.
corners.
Yeah,
and
I
having
think so.
logos on
well,
your
the
gear.
uniforms is it's a
Keep
joke.
the uniform fine,
But
right?
you should be able to
have
add
the
some
logo.
logos.
Banner,
in the-
yeah. 'cause
yeah.
That's not costing anyone anything, you know? benefits the fighters.
Look at the UFC. Like, look at being a UFC fighter, right? Like low level, intro level UFC fighter. This is what you're getting. First, you got to go fight in contender series, and you're fighting somebody that wants it just as bad as you, right? At the same level as you, pretty much. Same point of their career as you, you know what I mean? And you're fighting for the contract. So you have to fight this guy. You beat him, you get a contract, which is probably like either it's like 10-10 or 15-15 per fight.
Yeah, I heard it was like 12 and 12.
Yeah, 12-12. Something around 10-15 around that range per fight. And you're signing a 3-4 fight contract with the UFC. But they have the ability to terminate you anytime that they want, even before your first fight, basically. And then they make you wear a uniform, which means that you don't get to bring your own sponsors into the thing. Like, is it good to be a UFC fighter at the start? If you think about it, it doesn't really seem so good.
No.
And let's say you fizz out after 2 fights.
You get that dope shirt with your last name on it.
Yeah, you get that.
Yeah,
you
you
get
can-
fight kit. That,
Yeah, you can
know.
say you're a UFC fighter,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, with one championship coming up and being more popular, it seems like that's also a really good route to
But I
go.
feel
Yeah, but
like
there are some
once-
people in there who get like $1,000 to
Yeah.
fight.
Well, but that's like their contender series, though.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
like
the
they're-
Road to One, you mean? Or...
No, the like Lumpini shows.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Every Friday.
right.
That's like their contender series, basically, for
Yeah.
them.
But even like I knew a girl who was fighting for them when I first came to Thailand, and she was like officially signed with them, and her fight pass was like 4-4, which is like, I mean, 4-4 is not bad, but at the
Sure.
Well,
same
the thing
time, when
is,
you're doing
like,
like 12 and 12,
The thing
Yeah.
is, like, okay, you guys gotta look at it like this. The UFC is the UFC. You cannot mix it with everybody else. You can't compare purses with the UFC to these. Even the UFC's pace hella low. Like 12 and 12, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I wipe my ass with 12 and 12,
Oh, okay.
right?
Good for you.
well,
Yeah.
what kind of
I
money
wanna
you
wipe my
making,
ass with
Korean
12 and
Josh?
12.
Yeah, let me in on that.
Damn.
Yeah.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Take the toilet paper, please.
There's some shitty picture there. You know what I mean? Like, take it off. But I'm just saying, like, people want to complain about, like, people say things about, like, other promotions. But the thing is, like, you guys got to look at it as, like, the UFC, the same things you guys complain about them, you're just complaining about the other promotions in the same way, right? It's basically what we're doing, right? But then everybody wants to, like, say, like, oh, they're terrible for that. But UFC's 20-something years old.
Yeah.
These guys are, like, what? Barely 10 years around, or maybe 5 years. Look at PFL. How many years has PFL been around?
4?
4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
UFC for first 5 years. Compare like their growth to their growth.
Nut punches.
But do you think that the
Sorry.
UFC paved the way for that to be done?
Of course they pay.
I mean,
for it, of course.
they run a monopoly.
But they become the Disney World.
Yeah.
Like, you could be an amusement park and have the greatest rides and the
Yeah.
greatest food on planet Earth. Willy Wonka could be there. And you still would not beat Disney World.
Yeah.
Because the UFC's Disney World. It's just like their name brand, you know what I mean? They do have the best fighter, the most concentration of most of the best fighters, MMA fighters in the world, right?
Well,
Yeah.
and Dana White is very good in interviews about sort of like making the rest look less,
Yeah.
Right.
if that makes sense.
I like
Yeah.
that the rest look less.
Well, the thing is, like, Dana White, he's so good at, like, you could clearly tell that he had like a speech coach and he had like a PR coach as well. Because now he's so good at, like, where he goes into press conferences, he could just control everything, and he'll say one thing one week, and the next week he'll say the totally opposite thing,
Oh,
and
yeah.
no one will ask him about it, really, ever. And
but
it's
he's
just
also
like,
I mean, when he's in there, like, he's also free to like shut people down. Do you know what I mean? Being like, that's a
Exactly.
fucking
Yeah.
dumb question. I'm not
Which is
answering
great.
that.
which
That's
is great for
crazy.
him.
Yeah, he can do
right?
whatever he wants.
And like
really.
He's the
you
power.
see,
Yeah.
you like you see the evolution of him, right? But like the thing is, like, the media doesn't test him, like they don't push.
I think
up
they're
on
like
him.
slightly scared of him.
Of course they are, right? Of course, it's just.
Well, hasn't
what
he
it is.
banned people?
I was gonna say they
I
probably have
think so.
selected people.
I think so. I think he's banned. I think he
from the
banned
press.
Ariel Hawani.
Ariel Hawani, yeah,
he's
he
Ariel
banned
Hawani.
him. Yeah,
So like
I
for
don't know
leaking
if
stuff. But-
Hawani is still banned.
Yeah, but he doesn't. Hawani doesn't need to go. Like, to be honest with you, covering the shows is probably the worst part of media work.
Probably.
Like I've covered the One shows, I've covered the UFC shows, I've covered the Bellators, Ryzens, all of them. I don't want to do none of them unless you pay me lots of money.
Do you have one particular that?
No.
No.
Well, the best for watching is Ryzen.
Yeah.
Watching
I
it,
wanna get on
Ryzen is the
Ryzen.
best.
I want to get on Ryzen.
Like that like I've never had goosebumps at a fight show, and I've been to some big fight shows, but the Ryzen was like goosebumps.
What made it like that
Yeah.
for you?
First, number one, it's in Saitama, which was like 30,000, 40,000 people in the arena, right?
Right.
And like, it's just the pageantry and like the show that they have, like the lights and like introduction and
they
all
know
that.
how to put it on.
They just know how to put it. And then like you like when the fighters walk out, they walk out that like white path, and then they put the spotlight on you. So it's like that is the best walkout I think you could have.
What are the crowds like? Because I remember, I can't remember who told me, or but like years ago or something, if you fought in Japan, the crowds would always be like dead silent.
Yeah.
They would be,
Right.
but
And
then
then
they
like
would like
occasionally
they'd be
clap.
like-
yeah.
Yeah, like even
I-
when
I mean, I just fought in Japan 2
oh
weeks
yeah,
ago.
you did, yeah.
even when
And
my
was it
friend
loud?
BK,
No.
you know, when he did that
My-
crazy debut and he was like suplexing that
Okay,
guy all over the
was.
place, you hear like nothing coming from the crowd. He was doing like 5 foot nothing built African guy just suplexing this like 5'7" Asian guy all over
Well,
the place, and no one reacted.
I could hear my
I
corner.
look at it like this, okay? I
That's
look
good.
at Japanese crowds and like just Asian crowds to be honest with you, just the Asian crowds in general. It's almost like they're watching horse riding. Like
Or tennis.
tennis too
Wimbledon.
and golf,
Yeah.
right? It's like they're quiet and they're like watching, but then when something happens, they're like
You do that so well.
and they're like back down, they're like
No.
It's proving why
No,
he's Korean.
Have you
John.
ever been to in Thailand? I think they've got some of the worst because they have girls who are in there that they just
Oh, yeah.
high pitched
Yeah.
scream at the top of their lungs, like
for what?
as if they're being stabbed to death in the fights. You hear
Yeah.
it in the Thai stadiums, in one championship, sometimes on the little
Oh,
pity.
you're
Top
you
of
hear-
their
talking about in the
lungs.
crowd.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they
no.
just scream at the top
In
of their
like
lungs.
Japan and Korea, like Japan and Korea, I've seen that myself live, where they're just like quiet, but then someone gets a
Oh.
reverse and they're just like,
I love it. Yeah, I prefer that over like high pitched screaming.
Yeah.
It's not even excited screaming.
You remind me a
Either,
bit of a
it's just like
minion
a-
when you do that Korean drum.
but yeah, it's just Ryzen is the best show because I went there on New Year's Eve as well. So it
Yeah,
was like
well,
New Year's Eve.
my buddy, Kai Asakura, he's fighting.
Yeah,
this
I
New
saw
Year's
him
Eve.
fight.
And Vince Morales, they're both fighting.
Okay.
I was just hanging with them.
Yeah. Oh, they're gonna fight on Ryzen. Yeah.
And Hiroya, yeah, they're all on the New Year's Eve
Yeah.
show. I
The
was
New
like,
Year's Eve show is like one of the shows that even if you're not fighting on it, you should just go and see it. Why not? You know,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal. Like I went there for the Bellator and Ryzen. So they had Bellator like on the 29th, and then they had Ryzen on the 31st. So I got to see like that's what my MVP fought there. So I had to watch MVP. Chandler fought there as well. Michael Chandler when he was fighting for Bellator, both of them. Yuri was there when he was still the champion for Ryzen. What's his name? Manel Kopp. He was still fighting for Ryzen as well. It was a
Yeah.
crazy two events. But anyways, what were we talking
Sorry,
about?
Max, are those Christmas llamas on your socks?
Yes.
Oh my god.
I've got my Christmas
The
llama.
best
so-
Those are
so
llamas.
cool. I just look, I'm like, are they llamas?
The Santa llamas.
Those are so
That's
yeah,
dope.
I'm always down for a good pair of socks.
Hell yeah.
But one thing good about here is like you don't have to wear socks. I enjoy that unless
But he wants
You
to
want
wear
to.
this.
Have you seen
I
that llama
very
YouTube
obviously
video?
want to wear my
What's
llama.
I
Have
saw
you seen that YouTube video of the llama? They're like happy llama, sad llama, mentally disturbed llama. It's so good.
so we have a couple
I'm
more
a mentally
topics. We have
disturbed
before we get into the what is it? What's his name? Rodtang and stuff like that, right? Because there's some rumors out there now. We'll talk about Aljo.
Mhm.
He made this tweet, right? So like the reason why I mentioned Aljo is because he fought Sean O'Malley, and the backstory to that is like the UFC they rushed him into taking the fight against Sean O'Malley, like because he was still injured. He just had fought, I think, Cejudo. He beat him, and Aljo like he fought O'Malley And you know, like the reason why he fought O'Malley is because O'Malley has star power, like pay-per-view, blah blah blah. So now Aljo's saying that the pay-per-view numbers have come in and they're not very good. So is Sean O'Malley really that popular? Is Sean O'Malley really a star to where like
I think the
pay-per-view?
UFC wants him to be, whether
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
numbers come in for him or not.
That's weird,
Yeah,
right?
I
Dana
think-
desperately wants him to be for some
I
reason.
think he's one of those guys where like he's got his set fans and then the rest don't care. Like no one hates him enough to want to watch. And you know, he's not that, you know, some people like Conor McGregor, are like, I just want to see him lose. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I like Sean O'Malley, but I don't love him and I don't hate him. So I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it, but I also don't feel like I need to be there to watch it. Although it was a beautiful
It was a beautiful
he's
cross.
got some great striking. Like,
Yeah.
I rate
Yeah,
him.
it is entertaining to watch. For me personally, I don't really like either fighter for different reasons. I feel like with Aljo, I kind of got a sour taste in my mouth after that whole Piotr Jan thing.
Mm.
And that wonderful acting performance of his, and then him just like claiming the championship belt and you know calling
Yeah.
himself the champion when like clearly he wasn't winning that fight. So I kind of had my reservations toward him, and then with Sean O'Malley, just all that hype, you know, that also leaves a sour taste in my mouth because I don't really care for shit like that, right? It's like you just have to deserve that. I mean, his striking is good, but there was just so much hype behind him. And then what was it? It was the Chito Vera fight.
How he didn't lose?
Technically he's an undefeated fighter, but
Oh,
it's like,
yeah,
no,
that's-
you lost. Like, just admit it.
Yeah,
just
'cause-
be a humble person.
Because
Right?
if I
And say, I
ignore my
lost and-
losses, I'm undefeated too.
Yeah. So it's like,
yeah, me too.
it's like I
Yeah, well,
I
don't you
dislike
know
both of them. So it's like I don't want to put I want to see both of them lose.
See,
so I
I-
don't want to put any of my money in
I
that.
felt like Aljo with the fights after
It's true. Yeah.
he kind of, or not kind of,
He kinda
I felt
reclaimed
like
He
he proved
surprised
himself.
me after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
I-
sure.
I've also rolled with him and stuff.
Yeah.
So like he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
And
No, Max says he bashes him.
he backpacked me.
No,
gotta-
no, I said you bash
You
him.
guys,
No,
gotta, you
like-
guys gotta take your like relationships out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
Like
But
your relationships out of it.
but
and be
just
like,
seeing
okay.
just seeing like he works hard. He
Yeah.
like and stuff like that.
Oh, respect to
Um,
Aljo, man. He's accomplished a lot more than
he's-
people thought
Yeah,
he
I
would
think
have.
both
He's a
of them
big
worked
boy.
hard.
Yeah.
But no, like I felt like his like performances after that fight
I do think
kind
so
of
too. Yeah.
like made it better.
Yeah.
Whereas like I felt like with O'Malley, he didn't beat Piotr Jan.
No, he
No.
definitely did
And-
not.
And then yeah, I like what?
Yeah.
Is that the
what
thing
was the
with,
scoring?
with like a lot of people, a lot of fighters, is that Sean O'Malley never beat Piotr Jan?
I think it was maybe that and the whole
Yeah.
not losing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does, I think he still has like oh yeah, he made like merch out of it.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like sold
And
it
yet, this
out.
is the guy with the belt at the moment.
Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy,
He's
right?
good, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's the type of guy that said all that what he said. He's not even very good at trash. He's another guy not good at trash talking.
Yeah.
Not even really good at talking, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
he's good at dressing up.
But he's good at like
Smoking weed.
making
Yeah.
making a persona,
hmm
like not with his mouth, but with his physical being, and being a hell of a fighter too.
Wait, also, doesn't he let other people sleep with his missus? Was it?
No,
No,
Oh,
I think
okay.
that's
I was
you're-
like,
it's the vice versa.
okay.
It's
I was
the
like,
vice
that's
versa.
weird.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a lot of weird things that go around on the internet, you know,
Yeah.
like sometimes you can believe it and most times you shouldn't believe it at all. But yeah, like he has some kind of weird situation. We're not talking about that. We could get into
Sorry,
that.
sorry.
And we could get into Ian Gary and all of that because it's all
Yeah.
I
like
was
kind
about
of
to say.
similar to it. But
Oh.
we were talking about O'Malley. Somebody in the comments was saying O'Malley's fans are stoners who blow their money on weed. Meanwhile, wait, that's
I
what
mean,
it
I kind of agree with them though. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
O'Malley's fans are very
Are
much.
they- Are O'Malley fans like, dude, like, fuck it, like.
I think so. I'm
The
pretty sure.
knockout,
I'm pretty
dude.
sure they're all like
So
that.
You got some great impressions.
Well, I actually think that basically O'Malley's fans are all like a lot of stoners that probably don't do a whole lot of like they're not they're not martial artists and things like
They're
that.
the ones
They're
that
just
are-
happy
they're
someone's
the
out
ones-
there repping them.
Oh,
Yeah,
man,
exactly.
I bet you I could do that.
They're the ones that are probably like the ones that are arguing with their moms about like their PlayStation. Like,
Yeah,
you erased my,
Yeah, they're sitting in the
erased my
basement.
memory, mom.
Shut
Yeah.
up, Mom. O'Malley's on. I'm
Yeah.
watching TV.
So basically, losers.
Getting my inspiration.
It's like, Mom, I'm like 28 years old. Mom, for Christmas, I want
A Sean
pink
O'Malley
hair.
wig.
It's
literally just a- it's li-
really?
It's literally just a
But-
clown wig.
Shadowboxing is a mirror.
But the thing is, I think that with O'Malley, right? Like, I was never like a real believer, but man, he's proven himself. He's the champion. Like, he fought the real champion. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
like some guy that they just put it was like a fluke title win, and then like
Yeah.
they brought in O'Malley and he won the title. It was like he beat the guy that beat a bunch of other dudes. Right?
It was
Yeah.
decisive, but
yeah.
yet weirdly enough, I didn't feel like he proved himself before that.
Yeah, that's the thing, is he didn't prove himself before,
Yeah, but
right?
he proved himself in that title fight,
Sure.
and that's all you need to do.
But are we going to see a rematch of that? Because that,
No,
that was like a
no.
one shot.
Cheeto is gonna.
Yeah.
Cheeto Vera's fighting him.
Jesus.
And I
But,
think
like,
that just explains why there were probably less pay-per-views, right? Because people weren't as excited because of how Sean O'Malley got to that position of, the title fight, right?
yeah, well, but you
Potentially.
need
I
the
don't know.
haters though. You need people to hate you as much as they love you, right? Actually, you need more people to hate you
Yeah.
than they love you.
I
right?
do also wonder from the other side. So maybe people were feeling like that with O'Malley. And
Yeah.
then I know a lot of people were really torn on the Cejudo Aljo outcome
Mm.
because it was close.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm sure because it was like they were torn on that, they were torn on this. They're
Yeah.
sort of like,
They're like, you know what?
I'll watch the replay.
Or I'll just stream it.
Yeah. So like, going back to the original,
I've never
point,
done such a
Like
Sorry.
he was like being built up as this like rising star. Like he has this following and he's this character, and then he's gonna be a pay-per-view star, and then but Aljo's saying like that's not the case. Like their pay-per-views were bad, and he's not that big of a star. But maybe he's just hating. Maybe he's just hating because nowadays you could put up anything. Like, dude, like let me like know a UFC. Well, I do know a UFC fighter, but I'm saying let me like get behind a UFC fighter, like, and like guide them with like what to say and what to do.
Be in their ear.
Yeah, be in their ear, like literally. Like I would love to do that.
I
Like,
want
maybe
him
I'll
just to
start a
sit
business.
behind them.
Sorry, but with his fight, their fight, because it was like one of those just like one shot, he got knocked out. Why was there not a rematch of that? Because I feel like I see so many people get immediate rematches.
Because Aljo, number one, he's not considered like a legend of the division. Number two, he's not liked by company in many different
It
ways.
seems like it.
Yeah, it seems like it. And so like you have to have things going for you for them to give you a rematch. They didn't even give Jose Aldo a rematch.
Yeah.
Jose Aldo.
Crazy.
Jose Aldo was a champion for like 19 years. Beat up like 500 people in a row. Like, how do you not give a rematch to a guy like
I
that?
think what it is that it's less about them and almost more about like the hype person and that
the
hype
machine.
person.
It's
Yeah.
a business,
It's a
right?
machine.
Yeah.
The person that they like, right?
Mm.
In that instance, it was McGregor. In this instance, it was, and weirdly enough, both one punch.
But why do you
knockouts.
think
Oh,
Dana
wow.
loves O'Malley
Same.
so much? Why do you think he wants it to?
Because number one, you need American champions. You need American champions.
That's
You know,
racist.
Why is that
I'm
racist?
just
America's not even a race.
It's
It's nationalist. Get
Yes,
it right.
nationalist. I was gonna say segregation, but that's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. America's the land of not no
Wild shit.
Yeah. This is the wild, wild west. But anyways, so like with Aljo, like now he's talking about he's gonna go up to featherweight and he's gonna they're saying that he's gonna fight Calvin Kattar, right? Which I don't know, man. If Aljo can't get Calvin Kattar down, like he's gonna have big problems on the feet because Calvin Kattar is massive for featherweight.
Also, I feel like what's with all these
And
guys like
deadly.
wanting to go up and down in weight? It's like Aljo hasn't even like claimed his territory,
Yeah.
if you will. Maybe give him a couple more fights and then go up to featherweight, right? Don't.
I feel like don't do it unless you're like a super dominant champion.
Yeah,
Well, the thing
that
is,
too.
they're trying to take advantage of their like recently they lost the title, right?
Okay.
So they're using that name or that accolade, right, to get a matchup high in the division at featherweight.
I think
Right.
also
Because if you go and fight a couple more times, you could win, but you could also lose. And if you lose, then those fights disappear, right?
Right,
although
right.
losing the belt also and going up also solves the issue of him and Merab in the bantamweight division. Like
Well,
they're
that
very
was the
close.
biggest. That was to me. It was a dumb move of them not to play that up, rather than just be like, "No, we're not fighting each other. We're brothers." And I understand that. You know, I understand that side, and I also understand the other side of like, you guys should fight each other because it's for a lot of money, and you get to keep the belt.
Mhm.
One of you wins, gets to keep the belt, and then maybe you can fight each other again, and then one of you keeps the belt. So you guys all win.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like to me, like they fumbled so bad to me. Like they could have been fighting each other, and one of them would have the belt right now. You know what I mean? Like I understand the brotherhood and all that stuff, but man,
was
UFC
just-
really hated that in the
Yeah.
past as well. When that stuff happened, the UFC remembers that stuff.
Like DC and Cain Velasquez.
No, they did because they were never like pitted against each other,
That's
right?
true.
So he avoided it by going to 205.
Right.
Remember?
Right.
And fighting John Jones and all that. But there has been moments in the past where teammates that
Won't
they,
fight.
Yeah, they decide not to fight. And there's been sometimes where it's like behind the scenes, not as famous fighters, right? But they just don't want to fight each other. And yeah, it's just it doesn't work out well, especially in the UFC.
The best thing to do, especially now after the merge, is in the cage.
Make shit
After
up.
you've cornered somebody, they win, and then you just suplex them, and you're like, I'm gonna be that.
Yeah, there you
just
go.
turn it, and
Yeah.
you turn heel.
Yeah. But to me, it's like
Problem solved.
you
Yeah.
need to have something planned out for yourself.
Yeah.
Like you can't just be going in there and saying like, "Oh, I just whatever." You sound like
Wait.
Did he sound like
Sorry,
a
what did you
South
say?
Park?
I just said like I just fight whatever.
I was worried that
Because that's how it sounds to fans. Like when you don't say anything of significance.
Yeah.
It just like it's like Charlie Brown or whatever that other cartoon is. But anyways, yeah, it's just O'Malley. I think for him, his star is still growing. I think he'll be a bigger star, to be honest with you. I think he's even getting better as a fighter too.
Yeah.
Long as he doesn't like get off course with all of the shenanigans, right? But he seems like he's not like in like the party scene. Like he's a stoner, but like
Yeah, doesn't he have
what
a
are you
kid?
gonna do?
He
Smoke too
also
much weed and
doesn't
go to
follow
sleep?
one single person on Instagram.
Yeah, like he doesn't care.
He doesn't give
you
a
could,
fuck.
you could have a burner account and follow everybody, right? But I think that's what you should do if you're famous like that. It's like have your account where you follow nobody, and then have a burner
Yeah.
account where you follow everybody that you want to follow, and then
Yeah.
nobody knows what the fuck's going on.
I do still think, even though he's not the biggest trash talker, I laughed really hard when he goes, "Did Cheeto fight?" And they're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Was it boring?" And it is just a pause. And he's like, "Yeah, I thought so." It still made me laugh really hard, and it did like play up that
For sure.
this is the next thing, and it's a good storyline or whatever that the one defeat that the champ has is going to be the next fight. So
Yeah, and I definitely do want to see that fight for
and
sure.
that's the thing is I think
A lot
a
of
lot more people want to see that.
Yeah.
than-
That's gonna get some pay-per-views.
Yeah.
The
I think
Cheeto?
because people are going to
Is
want
it
to
a
watch
pay-per-view?
Cheetah beat
Cheeto?
his ass.
Yeah.
It is a
It is
pay-per-view,
a pay-per-view.
main event.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's gonna have. I think that's gonna have big numbers.
The
In
thing is,
comparison.
like, for some reason, like I like skill for skill, I think Cheeto Vera is a better fighter, but I don't know now though.
Oh, okay,
Maybe O'Malley has reached another gear or another level now to where Cheeto has the same style, right? Like he goes in there and he's just march forward berserker style, right?
I feel like you can't
he
do
never
that
gets
on
tired.
O'Malley though. He's
That's
like
what I'm
too
saying.
sniper.
I think O'Malley
Not
knows
anymore,
that,
yeah.
and he studied him so well, and he has such a good coach too, Tim Welch, his coach, that's always with him, right? And I think that they're gonna figure something out, like that O'Malley can do against Cheeto, and I think O'Malley's just gonna pull it off. Like everybody's just gonna doubt O'Malley continuously. I think that's what's gonna happen.
He's
And
gonna be
then-
one of those guys.
Yeah, he's gonna be one of those guys who
Yeah.
just gets doubted continuously. Like, oh, you beat him. That was a lucky punch against Aljo. Now let's gonna fight Cheeto, the guy that beat you, and then you go knock him out, and then it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, that was luck too. You know what I mean? Like, there's some guys that build hype through that, and that could be fun. Aljo's hype, man. He's a great fighter, but it's just like, I don't think he's gonna reach higher than he is now, like in popularity wise. To be honest, it's gonna be
No,
hard
I
to
don't
turn
think
that stuff
so.
around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
And
right when he was like turning it around, he did something, and then it's just like everybody flipped on him again.
well, and a lot of his fights were split decision, and they were
Yeah.
very close. They were close wins. They were hard fought wins, and that's why I think he turned it around in some people's eyes. But they were still close, and a lot of people thought that he lost the Piotr fight. They thought he lost the Cejudo fight and things like that. So it doesn't help you, right?
No.
But having a beautiful step back and cross and dropping the champ and then finishing him there.
Yeah, he hit him a
that
lot
gives-
on the ground too. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
watching
yeah.
the highlight again the other day. And I was like, damn, he punched him a lot.
Yeah,
on
when
the
you
ground.
rewatch it, you're like, oh no,
Yeah, that was good stoppage.
Yeah. Like,
He punched him like 15 times, I think, with the hammer fist on the ground. 20
Whew.
something like that. It was pretty insane. But
Jeez.
yeah, Aljo, man, it's hard to say. You know, what's
old
what
is
his
Aljo?
career is. He's in his 30s too.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I think like with Aljo, his biggest win and pretty much turned his career around was the Corey Sandhagen fight.
yeah.
Like after that fight, he became a different fighter. Like, he actually believed in. It's kind of weird to say, but there's certain fighters you kind of see that they start to believe in themselves more.
Yeah.
And
You see
they've
the
been
confidence.
in the UFC. Like, it's like, damn, you didn't believe up to that point. You know,
Yes,
but
you were top 5 in the world, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh, how are you not believing?
yeah.
Well,
it's
because
like,
fighters are so hard on themselves, right?
Yeah.
Constantly. But yeah, you can see the confidence in the fighting style and everything, right? They've like kind of found their groove, which is really cool to see.
And then in fighting, the biggest reality check comes too. You know what I mean? That's what fighting is about. It's about that's why it's so great to be able to reach the level of like we were talking about earlier about like Anderson Silva, where he was just like stepping back and like jab somebody and knock them out, or like when he did what is it? Oh, the front kick
teep.
to the
Oh my
face.
God.
With Vitor Belfort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the what was it? Yeah, the Chael Sonnen fight was the best one, man. He lost 4 rounds, and then Triangle choked him in the 5th. Like, that's
Yeah.
insane.
But then the problem is you get too confident and you see that fight
Chris
with
Weidman,
Chris Weidman, and he's
exactly.
just fucking
There you go,
bobbing
that was the
around, and then he
showboating
just gets
thing,
knocked
yeah.
out.
That was
It's
like extreme confidence.
yeah, this is too
Extreme
much.
confidence.
Well,
he took it up to an 11.
In
Yeah.
It should have
slight
been a 10.
fairness to him, he did something pretty similar to Maya, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. He did.
Yeah. Which the UFC wasn't happy about the Damian Maya fight because they were
No.
like, I think Dana was even like, if you can knock him out, just knock him out. It's like,
The veins in his head.
Yes.
No, 'cause Dana said at that time that he would cut Anderson Silva if he fought like that again.
Yeah.
And he was champion. Everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is probably one of the greatest fighters of all
Well,
time.
so I remember at that time, right, when he was still champ, he did like some autograph signing in Pennsylvania, like nowhere Pennsylvania where my grandparents were, and my grandmother saw him and she was like, oh well, he's like a really handsome and he doesn't look too beat up. He Max won't get too beat up and hit that too much. And my mom was like, yeah, he doesn't get hit. Like,
Yeah.
no one else is like that.
Yeah, it's very rare to see
Just
like
tore down my grandmother's hopes that I would keep
Yeah.
my face.
I mean,
you're
you still
still
have it.
intact. Yeah, you're still
Yeah.
intact.
Let's
Max.
see.
Yeah.
you're still good. You got a brain.
Yeah.
Your ears
Um,
are a bit messed up, but your face is still
It's okay.
intact.
Should have seen my last fight.
All right, so let's transition over to some Muay Thai, because you guys have fought Muay Thai. Some of you.
Double.
How many Muay Thai fights you have?
I had 12.
12. Yeah, so you guys all Muay Thai. You guys follow the. Of course, you guys know Rodtang,
Mhm.
and they have him lined up against Takeru in Japan. One championship. I think it's in March 1st, I believe. But the rumors are saying that Rodtang, his left hand is injured.
Oh no.
So that fight might be off.
Rodtang ducks fights.
Yeah. Is that what you think? You think Rodtang is ducking?
Well, I do feel like it would be a very tough matchup for Rodtang, especially because it's kickboxing rules, right? So he doesn't have the clinch, he doesn't have the elbows.
Can't catch kicks, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
But he did really
Yeah.
well against Superlek, to be fair.
it's true, but they were
They were doing Muay
elbowing
Thai.
each other.
Yeah, I know, but it was, I didn't think it was going to be like as close.
No, I
as
thought
that.
Superleg was gonna win.
Yeah, I knew, I
Yeah.
thought he would win too, but I just thought it'd be like more convinced,
Right.
yeah, more a one-way street.
Yes, yeah. So a lot there's that talk going around a lot, right? About Rodtang, he ducks fights, right? Like, but he didn't duck Superleg.
No.
He fought.
But
him.
I think it's one of those things where if he did pull out of that one, everyone would have been
Yeah,
like
for
100% like, you are a
Right.
ducker.
Right.
But man, he's getting 10 million baht a fight.
Oh, yeah.
Damn.
That's
What is that
or
in
is
like
it a million
USD?
baht a fight?
No, 10. It's
Is it
10. Yeah.
10 million baht a fight.
What's that in USD?
It's probably like a couple 100,000.
No.
Yeah.
Only a couple 100,000 is 10 million baht.
Yeah.
Damn.
I think it's like
Conversion
200,000.
hurts.
Yeah.
Let me go check. But anyways, like Rodtang, yeah, like that's the biggest fight because they signed Takeru because Takeru is like the biggest star in kickboxing, basically. And like one, they always want like Japanese fighters. So, and I think what's his name's retiring as well. Shinya Aoki is retiring after his fight against Sage, which is coming up on the same card. But yeah, with Rodtang, I don't know, man. That would suck for the Japan card because like that's the biggest fight. If it's not Rodtang versus Takeru, then it's Takeru versus Superleg, and we'll get into that because Superleg's opponent
Yeah. Super
pulled out, and he's fighting in a couple weeks in January in Lumpini. So what do? If Rodtang's really injured, do you man, these cards are getting really jacked up with these pullouts because there's been a bunch of them lately. Like they've been like one has been putting on like the best fights, like matchup wise, like the biggest fights you could possibly put on. But they're like fighters are pulling out left and right. It's been like destroyed. Like it took three reschedulings to get Superbon and Taiwan Chai to fight each other, right? Because they always had issues. But yeah, like they're already getting cursed, man. Like it's really bad. But what do? You take Superleg and say, hey, Superleg, we're going to take you off the card. We're going to put you in the March card against Takeru. And he could fight for the kickboxing world championship.
Yeah. I think you do that. I think you save the Japan show. I mean, where is the other show? Where's the
Lumpini.
Yeah.
No,
so
you
I
save the
mean,
do that all
Japan
the
show in that
time,
case. Yeah.
you've already generated a good fan base in Thailand, so don't ruin the Japan card. That's what I say.
I mean, who else would they want to see up there?
Well, yeah.
If not Rodtang or Superleg, like what would be the next best option for them?
Superleg, if Superleg doesn't fight Takeru,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if they didn't put him there, who else should they put?
then they would have to just put like a contender. But that would be a
it
waste.
that's what I
it'd
mean.
be-
So
Mhm.
Superleg would
Yeah,
be
you-
the next best option.
Yeah, Superleg, yeah, I think that would probably. But the thing is, like, I wonder what they're gonna do is because nothing has officially been announced about Rodtang. They're just rumored that he's injured.
I think that the Superleg would make for a more exciting fight anyway, because Rodtang's pretty boxing heavy. I think like for a kickboxing fight, like the style of Superleg would be more exciting.
Yeah.
And Superleg has been kickboxing more
Mm.
as well. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
I like just stylistically, it just probably would be a better fight. too,
Yeah.
with
So-
Superleg and Takeru. I've never really watched Takeru fight that much, to be honest. So I'm pretty
I watched
interested.
a couple of clips. He's like really good at his like front leg teep, and
She
he.
definitely did
I was
research.
gonna say
I did- I-
studying.
okay. I did look up Takeru because I was interested. I mean,
Yeah,
shoot
he's
me,
a star,
know?
right? Like,
and he uses his like rear leg knee to like get inside, and he's really
Mm.
heavy with his hands as well. So I feel like it would be fun to watch Rodtang and him fight. But either or, I mean, yeah, put Superleg in there and see how that works,
I mean,
right?
I feel like it's kind of almost a given. If Rodtang is injured, you may as well just do that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But if he's not injured, then like, what do they do with Superleg? they just have to throw him in there against somebody. But the thing is, like, these are not pay-per-views, right? So it's like, well, actually, they are pay-per-views because this is a fight night. So they are on like Amazon or some shit like
The
that.
Tokyo one is pay-per-view?
The Tokyo one's definitely pay-per-view,
Yeah.
right? So if they want a pay-per-view level of a fight, Rodtang has to stay on that card. He has to fight Takeru because they have to sell pay-per-views. Like,
You
I
don't
love Super Lek, and I
was
think
gonna
Super
say, you
Lek
don't
is
think
big,
Super Lek?
Yeah,
but I don't think Super Lek is known as Rodtang.
That's
Like,
because
I
One
mean-
Championship have really
guess.
hyped, you know,
I mean,
Yeah.
they've painted the picture for Rodtang.
I mean,
Yeah.
Rodtang fights so often.
Yeah.
It's
But also they've put, I mean, one of his last fights against that guy, the Mexican guy,
yeah.
who had like
Tavares, yeah.
30 fights and
Yeah.
but he's a WBC. But that was such a mismatch. And it was like, what was
Yeah.
the point? You couldn't find anybody.
But they've done
better?
that. They've done that with a lot of
A lot of
different
them.
people.
That's why they have a
Yeah.
70%
Well, the
knockout
thing-
rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like the matchups that were like really good, somehow they disbanded. Like him and Rodtang and somebody good, they got matched up, and then something happened. Like even in the Grand Prix, like he missed weight and they never fought. So they had the problems with like who goes to the next level and like what are they fighting for? It was just
I know, but you're One Championship. Like there's way better contenders, like for sure, that you could have just picked. But they put
but
that
the
poor
thing
guy
is,
out
like
there.
it wasn't even for a title either. Like
No.
Rodtang's a champion, but like that fight wasn't even for a title.
I
you
just
know
thought,
what I mean?
imagine if that Mexican guy won. It would have been when they went out there. I was always
The
so
biggest
I
upset
just want him to
ever.
win, just because it would be like, oh wow, that backfired.
Yeah, it sucks to see that stuff backfire. But because Rodtang, he was having trouble making weight too during that one because it was in Denver, in Colorado.
Right.
So, but yeah, like Rodtang, he was gonna get beat. He has that style. Like you're gonna get beat eventually. Like Super Lek beat him, which is a good friend of his. But
His
I
health
want to see
bar.
that.
His health bar. Like I think like every fighter has an overall health bar, and as we take hits, it just like shortens a little bit. And then he's standing there and he's getting hit and doing this, and I'm just like, bro, your health bar is just getting chipped.
He kind of reminds me of like a Thai Chuck Liddell. Like eventually that. he's gonna
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
I do get what you mean.
Instead of the Iceman, he's the Rice Man.
yeah, the rice right.
I love you. She said that.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
right,
Thank you.
Right.
I was already laughing at myself before I even said
I
it.
love that.
That's right. To make it extra Thai, you do like the sticky rice, man.
Rice, man.
It's like Iron Man and Ice Man.
That's
That
it.
nice
That's the clip that he's gonna do.
Yeah. But what's so cool about Rodtang is that he really like his character is in his fighting, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these people that we've been talking about, the UFC fighters, their characters kind of outside of their fighting, whereas Rodtang has become popular because of how he fights and how like just the reckless nature
But I think
of it,
too, because
right?
obviously he doesn't really speak any English, right? They can't have
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that trash talking
Yeah.
going on like the same way.
But
Yeah.
he doesn't really trash talk though.
No,
Yeah,
but
that's the thing.
I'm sure, I think that,
They got to build people up
yeah,
somehow,
you don't see them
right?
hold this
The
kind of
trash
Yeah,
press
the
talk
thing is like he
conferences and stuff.
dances and like
Yeah.
now he's also a Muslim, so he has that like push from the Muslim community as well.
Oh.
And like what is it? Yeah, Rodtang's Rodtang, man. Like, but I think like there's an expiration date just like everybody else, and we'll unfortunately we'll get to witness this. Some people will like it, some people won't. But
Who would like
it's
it?
Rodtang.
Who do you think's going to win if the fight goes down?
Between who?
Takeru.
Thank you.
Takeru and Rodtang?
Yeah.
I think Takeru wins. Just more technical. But and I thought Super Lek was gonna beat Rodtang before that fight happened as well.
I think Rodtang is technical. I mean, with
Technical violence, yeah, like technical.
that, well,
like
isn't it all technical violence?
It is all technical violence, but he's like real, like
Terminator
I
vibes. Just
I
like
think of
walks
him
through
almost
it.
like
Yeah.
Bocao.
yeah, he's like
Similar.
playing
he's
mind
like
games.
the-
As
I don't know,
well.
it's hard- his style, like if you can describe it, it'd be like
Tank.
unhinged
Yeah.
technical violence.
Yes.
sure.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
he gets unhinged a lot in there, and he just starts throwing, and then he just like he wants people to punch him. Like to me, that's
Some people need that though in
Mm-hmm.
fights. Like
like full blast though, like that. Did
I
you
don't
see
know.
the? You see the guy
he lets
recently?
people punch him and then
You
they
see
still
that
don't knock
recently? He
him
tried to do
out.
the
Yeah.
Rodtang on somebody, and he got knocked out. He tried to do the Rodtang. He's like, I'm the rice man. And then the
Fucking
dude did
uncooked rice.
Yeah,
I
the
couldn't
dude.
think of anything more degrading though. Someone allows you to punch them in the
Yeah,
face and you
right?
cannot
It-
knock them
it
out.
completely fucks with people,
Oh, I
right?
was gonna say you allow someone to punch you in the face
Every night. Every
Yeah,
night.
that's also that's
Could
amazing.
you imagine just being like, I'm gonna take this? No, it's gone.
It's a good way to go to sleep. Right?
I guess,
Every
yeah.
night.
You're having trouble.
Feeling real
Going to sleep
refreshed
one night.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, like Rodtang, like we know him because we're in the what is it, combat sports? What is it? Combat sports world or whatnot.
Cult.
But I don't know if like people really know who he is though. Like even like Takeru, he's like these guys are both like known figures, but it's like, are they that known?
I didn't know who Takeru was.
Exactly, right? And you're in the fight world. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people didn't know who Takeru was.
I
Yeah.
think Rodtang is in maybe one of 10 fighters out of one championship that like if you
crosses line.
if you cross like if you even look up one
Mhm.
championship, you're gonna see his name.
Yeah.
You know, same with obviously like Demetrius Johnson is a
Mhm.
little different because he's
UFC prior to
UFC
that, yeah.
Mhm.
previously greatest UFC fighter of all time.
Yeah.
But
There's an argument in there.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
flyweight.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I think like he's one of the names that if you
Yeah.
ever cross over and everything, you're gonna
Well,
know. But
let me look at his like following, right? Because you can kind of gauge it to somewhat of the following, right? Of like how popular they are.
yeah,
You
because I
can't-
feel like it's like Rodtang.
He's
Stamp.
1.5 million.
That's
That's a lot.
Jeez.
yeah, that's a lot of people.
And they're all Japanese.
Yeah, they are.
Right? That's the issue. I mean, it's
Who?
just
Takeru.
no, all of his fans.
Oh
Yeah, yeah.
No, not Takeru, Rodtang.
Oh, he's
Oh,
1.5.
Rodtang. Oh,
Rodtang's
sorry.
1.5.
Okay. And
I
they're
think
all
Takeru
tied.
has. Yeah, they're all.
On Instagram, right?
They're
But then
all-
if you look up like UFC stars, what Khabib has like 8 million or something, like
Yeah.
4 million or
It's the
something.
Muslim
Yeah.
world, right?
True.
Muslim world helps.
Yeah.
Takeru has 777K.
Huh?
Which is
Still
not-
pretty decent
still
for
good.
someone.
Yeah.
Still
right?
a
But
lot.
1.5 million is
It's a
pretty
lot.
damn
It's
good.
ridiculous.
But you gotta chop off like 30%, just because most of the time it's
Bots.
not like very. A lot of times
Bots.
followers are bought, right?
Mm.
To make it look like, because what looks better, 1 million or 1.5 million?
Are you saying Rodtang bought his followers?
I'm not saying it, but it happens to a lot of fighters. Even Conor McGregor.
Wait, like
he
that they
lost-
buy them or that they just have bots?
Oh,
Because
Yeah, they
sometimes
buy
you-
them
Oh.
The bots
because
are
you get
bought.
to a certain level,
Bought,
right?
bought.
The
You get to
Same
a
thing.
certain level, right, of like following. You could buy a certain level. It doesn't make
I
a big
think
difference because
sometimes
people
you-
won't even notice.
I think
Right.
sometimes you can tell. I mean, there's like sometimes I've seen girls where they have 100,000 followers and then they have like 300 likes on a photo, and you go, that those numbers don't add up. Like,
Yeah.
I
like
think
Stan Fairtex. How much does she have?
She's
I think more
definitely
than
one of the
Rodtang.
popular ones, right?
Yeah, I think she's probably the most popular one.
probably.
Stan Fairtex. Who is she?
Jeez, who else is there?
There's so
in
many
one.
Fairtexes. There's like
Um,
yellow
Oh,
Fairtex,
Androids.
pink Fairtex.
Smilla Sundell. That's
I
that
don't-
17-year-old girl.
I don't think
She-
she's a million. No.
Dude,
No.
she is so good.
Yeah.
But I think she's been having
I
a
think
hard
she
time.
might be. Nobody wants to fight her.
No, but not only that, she's only 17, right? So she's still growing, and I think she's already having a hard time getting to that weight.
Mm,
mm.
Plus
Still,
it's
like
hydrated.
she is like
Yeah,
a bit. She
I'm
is like
curious what that looks like.
Listen, if Alicia
The most
Rodriguez
amazing.
had been her size, I think Alicia would have smoked her.
yeah, but she's
Yeah.
not.
I
That's
I
the
know,
thing.
but-
yeah,
Like,
they look
Shamila's
she's
just
so
gonna-
different.
She's
I think
beatable.
Shamila will just outsize everybody she fights.
well,
and then
eventually
that's
she
her
might.
advantage.
Yeah,
but she
she's
fought that Australian girl who was equal to
And
her in
beat her
height, and she
bad.
beat her bad.
Bad, just like real bad. I was just like, damn. No, Stan doesn't even have a million. She has a
Oh.
less than Takeru.
Wow.
743,000.
That's
Still,
surprising.
743,000. You could
Yeah.
get some good ads running on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, just to me, Rodtang, that's a big blow if he gets pulled out of that fight. That ruins like the Japan card. Really ruins it, right? Like, but
Oh
what's
wait,
Super Lex
yeah,
following?
yeah. Check Super Lex exactly.
No, no.
That's what we need to know.
Super Lex Instagram follow.
Yeah.
We're just gauging that to see which matchups are right.
Yeah.
No, it just
Well, I mean,
was a
if there's enough of a
curiosity.
following as
Super Leg
well,
is
then
like-
it's not as bad of
Super Leg
a
is not even close to
of a
these guys.
change.
Super Leg's like 239,000.
Really?
Yeah,
I really would have thought he would have been more popular.
yeah, me too.
especially after
Well,
the
he's-
Rodtang fight.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I've always thought that Super Leg was a better fighter than Rodtang, and then once they fight, he's gonna win. That's all. I always thought that from earlier this year, or maybe last year or whatnot.
I mean, in terms of Muay Thai, it makes sense because he's the kicking machine,
Mhm.
right? And kicks are just counted for more. I don't know what the rules are in kickboxing. I mean, obviously,
the
bigger
points
kicks.
like so in Muay Thai normally like kicks on the outside of the arms don't really they do score in kickboxing. They don't.
Oh, okay,
You can't catch kicks.
right.
Mm.
You can't
Single
grab
knee.
in the clinch. You can only like step up knees. If you do end up in the clinch, you're not to like
Do
knee and
anything?
hold them and
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Single knees.
It's
as well,
like
right?
Muay Thai, but just like PG version almost.
PG Muay Thai.
Lame.
Also, lame. Also, they're like more in and out footwork, right? As when
Right.
Muay Thai is
Yeah.
just more like
Yeah.
in,
let's
in,
just.
in. Yeah.